So this is the fuel pump assembly that can be found in the first generation Hayabusa. This is 99 and 2000 models, and there is a significant difference between this setup and all the other fuel delivery systems in Hayabusas after year 2000. So the difference is that this is the fuel pump that is mounted externally. This actually sits beneath the tank, just behind the engine. This is for models 99 and 2000. The later models have the fuel pumps sitting inside the tank, the fuel tank, which is a better setup, and that's for a variety of reasons. First of all, it's just cheaper to replace when it fails. For the later models with internal fuel pumps, when it fails you can get the pump for about 35-40 pounds on eBay. This is obviously a brand new product I'm talking about, which is a lot cheaper than this, but I'll get to that in a moment. The second reason why the later systems are better is because the pump is constantly submerged in the fuel, which is cold, so it provides cooling to the device. External fuel pump does not have this luxury. Now, but the best benefit of internal fuel pumps in the later models is that, as I said, when it fails, you just replace the actual pump. With this setup, unfortunately, Suzuki would not sell just the pump itself, because don't get it confused, this is not the fuel pump, this is the whole assembly with many other components. The fuel pump sits inside here, inside this casting, which I'll get to in a moment. And the problem is, when your fuel pump fails in the early models, this is going to cost you £400. In fact, this is now on offer for about £350. So let's talk about this device here. So those obviously are mounting brackets which hold the whole thing in place underneath the tank on the first generation Busa. Let's just take those brackets off. Okay, so this is obviously your electrical connection which supplies power to the fuel pump. You've got a variety of hoses over there, which is obviously something that we're not even talking about. So this here is a very important component. This is your fuel pressure regulator, and this geezer's job is basically to supply fuel at adequate pressure depending on circumstances. So obviously different pressure will be needed when your bike's just idling, and a different pressure will be needed when you're on full power, open tabs, and racing or something. So if this fails, obviously lots of problems can happen. But when it happens, again, you're screwed, because Suzuki would not sell you just that regulator. They would want you to buy the whole assembly. So just to get the regulator off, you just unscrew those two little bolts here. And then you just gently wiggle this away, because there's a little O-ring over here. So try to wiggle it away gently. There we go. So as you can see, you've got this tiny little O-ring at the top, and that is it. That's your fuel pressure regulator. But let's just have a look at this. Over here, I really hope you'll be able to see this. Over here there's a little hole, and inside it, filter, there's like a little mesh. Can you see this? That was absolutely clogged with crap and dirt, and this is why in some cases the bike wouldn't get the fuel and it would stumble. So that's something to check. Luckily you can clean it very easily, and if you can't clean it, you can buy it for literally a few quid, and Suzuki would sell you that one, so that's a good news. So now let's just get even further and open the whole device, and let's just have a look what's lurking inside. Okay, there we go. So to split it, obviously those four screws will have to be taken off, and now gently pull it away. And there we have it. So let's have a look what's inside. You'll have this gasket here, so be gentle with it. Obviously it is recommended to change it every time you open it, but if you're really careful, you can actually reuse it. Just put some tiny amount of oil on it, on the assembly, and you should be okay. Now those are obviously connectors that provide power to the pump, So simply take them off. There we go. So over here, you're gonna have this plastic, call it retainer, which is gonna have this little O-ring inside here. So let's leave it there for a moment. This O-ring actually goes on this little plastic tower here, and there's gonna be a little cylindrical plastic ring, call it, sitting on that here. This is your actual fuel pump. This is where it sits. There we go. This comes off. And then that's your pump inside. Right. To get the pump out, simply grab this here and gently pull it. And there we go. This here, my friends, is your actual fuel pump. So all that, obviously, as you can see, are tons of other components, but this is your actual pump, which fails on the first generation Busa. That comes off nice and easy. This is just a rubber holder. Okay, so everybody told me it was the pump that actually failed me, but it wasn't. So basically what caused my motorcycle to have all those symptoms was the dirt inside the tank, which then was fed through the whole system and basically clogged this assembly. There are 3 places in this assembly where dirt can just wreak havoc. First of all, there's that little filter here, which I showed you before, and that was absolutely clogged with crap. So that was cleaned. That was step number 1. Then the second thing, there's a filter just behind that. I'm gonna show it to you now, just give me a moment. This is gonna be a bit of a job to take it out, so you're gonna have to use some tools to pry this piece of plastic, and this is gonna come out. It's not an easy job. There we go. So this is just a casting. There's nothing there inside. However, there is a fuel filter. That spring can be taken away. You've got this filter here. O-ring over here, so on assembly just add some lube to it. Just a tiny bit of oil would do. So that was the second component that was failing me. And then there's one more filter. It's like a mesh filter that sits inside there. There's a plastic, you see this plastic brown thing inside? At the very bottom of it there's another filter, like a mesh filter, and that was clogged with crap as well. And basically those 3 items being so clogged with dirt were causing the symptoms. So it wasn't the actual pump. So often on the first generation Busa, 99 2000 models, when your bike has certain symptoms like stalling or power loss or backfiring, oftentimes you don't have to buy the pump itself, just clean it all properly. But also that would mean that perhaps your tank needs looking at, because most probably there's going to be some rust problem. So let's just get it out and let's have a look what it looks like. Okay then, so as I mentioned before, there's this little plastic retainer over there, and at the very bottom of it, just over there inside, there's going to be another mesh filter. Those 3 elements, which is this filter here, and this, by the way, is £45. It's absolutely ridiculous. To make it, it probably costs £1, and they sell it for £45. So I bought this one as new. I cleaned the little one over here, which I showed you before. That was quite easy to clean. And then I took the whole thing out from the bottom, and what I did for that, I used those picks, but be extremely gentle with it, because this plastic is not very solid, so you can easily break it. I got it pre-loosened before I filmed it, so it comes out. As you can see, there's nothing there, it's all empty. So this is just a casing now. And over here, you've got this O-ring, which you could replace. It would be good if you did it, but this one is in pretty good condition, so I'm just going to lube it and reuse it. And this here, you see, there's this like kind of gauze mesh thing. That was all dirty. There was like kind of like gunk, kind of rusty, gunky stuff mixed with petrol. So I cleaned it all, and it's all nice and beautiful. And that is it. That is your first generation fuel pump for Suzuki Hayabusa in pieces. So when you have all those weird symptoms like stalling, lack of power, hesitation, and people say it's the fuel pump that failed, quite often the fuel pump will still be okay. So just check those three, which is this one here, that filter, and that one over here. Clean them or replace them, and then try it.